and welcome to this lesson in which we're going to discuss the very important topic of how you receive payments from your students. After all, if you deliver classes, you want to get paid, right? Now, the first thing I want to say is that this is an updated version of a prior lesson. And so if you have, even if you have watched this lesson, the previous version, I encourage you to watch this lesson all the way through because things really have changed considerably. That's why I'm doing this update, and they've changed for the better. So let's first take a look at what specifically we're going to talk about in this lesson. Managing without a local bank account. I'm going to get into that one in a minute, so I don't need to talk about it right now. We're going to talk about ways to get paid offline, the old school way, the way I used to get paid. And then we're going to talk about getting paid online, what's available to you now. And again, the landscape is so much different than it used to be and so much better. And then I have a strong recommendation for you at the end of how I would set this up to make life easy for yourself. Now, the first thing I want to say is you will not be able to open a bank account in Brazil without a residency card. It can be a temporary residency card, but without a residency card, either permanent or temporary, you will not be able to open a bank account, period, full stop. I've lived there, right? Okay, so trust me on this. I've actually had people who haven't been down there to argue with me on this point, and I'm like, yeah, go give it a try. If you're successful, let me know how you did it. But I went down there. I had a bank account with HSBC in the U.S. There was an HSBC 2 blocks from where I was living. Went over there, and the guy is like, hey, I can take the paperwork and submit it, but it's going to get rejected. That's exactly what happened. And it was the same. I went to all of the major banks, and it may be a government requirement that you have a residency card. I don't know, but whatever the reason, you will not be able to open a bank account. And I mean, no credit card, no checking account, no savings account. I mean, I told the guy, I know credit card, I could run it up and leave the country. Checking account, I could overdraw it, leave the country. I just want a savings account with a debit card attached, and I couldn't even get that. So you're going to have to be able to, as I said, believe me, I tried, right? So don't bang your head against the wall. Just accept this and understand that there are ways around it. Okay, there are alternatives. So let's talk about this. First, the offline methods, and this is the way that I used to operate down in Brazil. Well, of course, cash. So some of your students will be fine with paying you in cash, as cash is king, as they say. There are some drawbacks to this. Now, think about what's going to happen. If you follow what I tell you, you'll get paid at the beginning of each month, right? For classes that will come that month. Now, what this means is that, that first week of the month, you're going to have a lot of cash. Now, your alternatives are what? You can't put it in a bank. So you're either going to walk around with that cash or you're going to leave it where you're living, which may be safe, maybe not, you may feel comfortable with that or you may not. So that's not so good, right? Now, you can accept checks, and I did this, and I used checks sort of in lieu of a bank account. I'd spend the cash first that I'd received, and then as I needed more cash, then I would cash a check, right? So that sort of operated as like having a bank, okay? Just cashing each check as I needed more cash. Now, a couple things to be aware of. Since you will not have a bank account, your only option is to cash the check at the student's bank, okay? And if you go do that, be sure that you take your passport. Okay, no bank is going to cash your check without ID. And so take your passport and be prepared to wait, particularly if you're going the first few days of a month. The lines are long. Okay, this is not ideal, but it's a way to work. Okay. Now let's talk about online methods. These were not available when I first started teaching English, and they're great. So I think you really want to try and look at these. Now, one way that's been around for a long time is PayPal, and there's the link to it. You can open a personal account there. There's no need to open a business account, I don't think. You may well already have an account with PayPal. Almost certainly you've used it. You've either made a purchase through PayPal or sent money to somebody or they've sent money to you. So I'm not going to talk a lot about it. It's pretty easy and everybody knows how it operates. Now, a sister company is Stripe. I'm not sure whether PayPal owns Stripe or whether PayPal and Stripe are both owned by the same company, but they're related. And Stripe is nice because it allows you to accept payments from credit card. Your students can use a credit card to pay you, and some like that. They may get points for it or whatever. It's pretty easy to use. Basically, at the beginning of the month, you'll create a link that you in Stripe, which will then send to your student either by email or messaging. Okay. And then they just click the link. It opens up a little dialog box. They put in their card information and so on, and then click and you're paid. And Stripe is really nice because the payment goes in and it will take about 3 or 4 days for Stripe to verify the payment. But once it's verified, you can have it automatically sent to your bank account. So that's really nice. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to remember to transfer money. So again, Stripe is nice. You can accept card payments and you don't have to get a bank involved. The old way of getting a merchant account was difficult and expensive. Okay. Stripe can be set up to auto transfer to your bank. Setup's pretty easy too. It's 15 minutes. It's really not a big deal at all. If you would like to learn more about Stripe, here are a couple of links. Merchant Maverick, and on the dashboard there at Stripe, you can register. You might want to do a screen print here so that you have this information handy. All right. It's not complicated at all. You should be aware, however, that if you use PayPal or you use Stripe, the fees are going to be in the neighborhood of 3.5 to 4%. So I have a pickpocket here on the slide. It's not outrageous, and but why would you pay it if you didn't have to? And really, you don't have to these days. I think there's some better alternatives, but let's look at some of the alternatives. Other apps which are common these days are Wise, which used to be TransferWise. It's the same, and Zelle. I have a student that pays me from Brazil using Wise, and I have a student from Mexico that pays me using Zelle. So you might actually ask your student, how would you like to pay me, and see if that works. Although I'm going to make a recommendation in a minute. Teaching Brazilians, you'll be surprised. They're very tech savvy, right? So you can ask them what they'd like to use. Now, be aware that not all apps will work within Brazil. For example, Venmo, I don't know where you're from, of course, but Venmo is a popular way of making payment in the US, but it only works in the US and a few of its territories. I guess it's limited to the US dollar. But in any case, you would not be able to use Venmo in Brazil. So just be sure that when you're settling on an app with your student, it's one that will work for both of you. All right. So again, I said I had a recommendation. You don't have to follow this, but I think you'll like it. Okay, so let's dive in. I suggest you look closely at a smartphone app called Revolut. Okay, and there's the little key. This is how it's spelled. And this was actually recommended to me by a student, and she's over in Portugal, and it's used a lot there, I guess in Europe, she says, and she pays me via this. And actually, although she's in Portugal, she's Brazilian. Her account is in Brazil, and she is able to pay me through Revolut. So I know that one works down there. Oh, and now I have a couple of students in Brazil that I've converted to using Revolut. Here's why I like it. Okay, it handles currency conversions. So let's say that I require payment in dollars and my student, earns in reais. So they can put in, they do a calculation. Okay, that's about this much. They can send the money without having to have an account denominated in dollars. So they can just send money from their Brazilian reais account. There are no fees for your student or for you if you both have Revolut accounts. And when I say that, you just have to open an account. You don't have to carry a balance in it, or I don't usually. I don't usually keep money in Revolut, but I don't pay any fees to receive, and my students don't pay any fees to send money, and they don't pay anything for the currency conversion. So it's absolutely free for both parties. The setup is also quite easy. Again, 10 minutes if you know your way around apps. So you can download it from the App Store or Google Play Store, and I think you should really give it a good look. Now, you've got the funds, let's say, in your Revolut account, but how do you use the funds, right? Well, what you do is you'll link your Revolut account to your bank account, and then it's very easy then to transfer funds from Revolut into your bank account. Now, it is a manual process. It's not like Stripe where you can set it up to be automatic, but it's an easy process to do. So what I do at the beginning of the month, I have several students that pay me using Revolut. So I wait till, pretty much all of them have paid me. Okay. Then I do one transfer of that lump amount in Revolut over to my Schwab bank account. And then I have a debit account with Schwab, right? I have a debit card that accesses that account with Schwab and it works very, very well. Now, let me talk about the kind of account that I have. At Charles Schwab, I have what's called a Schwab Bank, because there's also Schwab Investment, right? So you would search for Schwab Bank High Yield Investors Savings Account. I know it's a mouthful. This again was actually recommended to me by somebody who bought my book about teaching English in Brazil back before this was even a course. And I think it's great, because I don't pay anything for this. So let's look at some details on why I really like this Schwab account. There's no minimum balance required as you might expect for a high yield account. Nope. Your debit card will work at almost any bank anywhere. And I mean, not just in Brazil, but I've used it, and all around the world. Okay. Now, you will be charged fees when you access money from these ATMs around the world. But here's what's really cool. At the end of the month, Schwab refunds ATM fees to you. And that's really cool because that can be a lot of money. It can really add up, right? So the upshot is you can withdraw money only as you need it, right? You don't have to say, well, I'm going to get charged an ATM fee, so I'll get a big chunk of money out. No, you can, just get money out as you need it, carry only the cash with you that you need, that you feel safe carrying. And, you'll get charged a fee, but Schwab gives it back to you at the end of the month. So it's all very cool. And how to open one of these accounts? Well, you can just go to schwab.com checking, or you can call this toll-free number. Again, what I recommend is that you use Revolut for your student to send money to you, and then you just do a transfer from Revolut into your Schwab checking account, and then you just access it anywhere using your debit card. And whether you can access it Banco do Brasil, Itaú, any of the banks in Brazil. So that's about as simple as you can get and cheap as you can get. So that's my recommendation. I did want to make you aware, if you're not aware, that I now have a companion website up called Teach English in Brazil. And if you go there, there's a blog. I'll put news up there, and you can, easily ask questions there and so on. All righty. And it'll have some other resources available to you as well. All right. So you might want to do a screenshot of this. And although the name's pretty easy to remember, right? Teach English in Brazil, no underscore, no hyphen, and go poke around, see what you think. Now, this lesson format is different from what I did before, where I just had the camera turned on me. But if you like this format with the slides and so on, let me know. You can send me an email at support@teachenglishinbrazil.com. And I'd like to know your thoughts. At some point, I'm going to need to go back and redo all of the course, I think. And so I'd like to get your thoughts. All right. So that's it for this lesson, and I hope it was helpful for you. Again, I recommend Revolut and the Schwab bank account. All right, but do what you will. Take care.